Full Throttle, I think of how good writing in games can actually be. That's the last thing I thought about when its credits rolled. Sure, the game is famously on the very short side, and it might be technically the least laugh-out-loud funny game of Tim Schafer's catalog. But I'll be damned if it's not a rip-roaring ride down a highway of rockin' sights and sounds from beginning to end. Yeah, when I think of Full Throttle, I think of two things: how good writing in games can be, and exploding rabbits. Tim Schafer needs no introduction as the mind behind the brilliant LucasArts adventure titles Day of the Tentacle, Grim Fandango, as well as the most excellent platformer Psychonauts, and the disappointing Brutal Legend. Not due to lack of quality on Brutal Legend's part, but a bizarre fact that its ad campaign hid any evidence at all that it was an RTS. Then there's Broken Age, which I haven't played yet, but don't really feel compelled to do so anytime soon for some reason. Sorry, Tim. Full Throttle, however, was his first game as creative director, and as such was undoubtedly a labor of love. Inspired by stories a friend told him of her time witnessing the rituals of local Alaskan bikers, Full Throttle was a deliberate attempt to explore a world mostly unexplored in games at that point. A world not unlike the world of pirates, where flexible moral codes, gangs, and a freewheeling spirit reign supreme. The gritty, tough man of few words Ben Throttle was its protagonist, who was inspired by stoic cinematic badasses like Mad Max and Kuwabatake Sanjuro of Kurosawa's Yojimbo. Guys who kick ass but don't go out of their way flaunting their skills or looking for trouble, yet some way, somehow, trouble always seems to find them. Boasting excellent voice work from the late Roy Conrad as Ben, Kath Soucie as Maureen, undoubtedly one of my all-time favorite female game characters, and of course Mark Hamill as a whopping total of 3 entirely different characters, most memorably the sinister bureaucrat Ripburger, whose plans to frame Ben's gang the Polecats for the murder of a legendary motorcycle magnate in an attempt to gain control and mass-produce minivans jumpstarts, or rather kickstarts, the plot. I revisited this game recently due to its new remastered edition and the fact that it's a favorite of mine that I still never beat for some reason, despite its extremely short length. While the remastered version's awesome presentation, dedication to immaculate restoration, and abundance of extras definitely make it worth buying, just like the other 2 Double Fine remasters of LucasArts classics, the ability to mix and match the old pixel visuals with the new audio and controls was my preferred method of play, as the newly painted over visuals, while admirably painstaking, are, in my opinion, objectively less dynamic and more washed out, often resembling the first layer of an unfinished piece of digital tablet art. The option to avoid the now ancient jagged edges is welcome for those who want to, but I love the classic graphics myself, and I don't think that's nostalgia goggles talking. It might be cavefish goggles, though. As is to be expected, the infamous adventure game approach to puzzle solving does rear its ugly head sometimes. You know, the theory of when stuck, use every item on everything in an attempt to solve a puzzle so esoteric and so devoid of dialogue or environmental clues that you would have to be clairvoyant to solve it. But the ratio of those kinds of puzzles to the kind where I was able to satisfyingly solve it on my own with just a little noggin use was impressively well balanced, even in comparison to, say, Grim Fandango, a game whose story I'll always prefer, but which featured during certain sections puzzle solutions that were beyond ridiculous. Then there's the road-based combat, of course, which is notorious for being shallow and janky at best. But I didn't find it too much of a fun stopper here. It was brief enough that I got a kick out of it, and it didn't hamper my experience. Peter McConnell's music is perfection as always, and the barroom grunge of the Gone Jackals, cheesy as it is, made me throw up the devil horns more than once. A lot of the heavy metal, hard-edged, hot rod, prepubescent boy fantasy aesthetic present here is definitely a vibe Schafer loved revisiting throughout his career. So, Full Throttle. In short, it's not the best adventure game of all time, but it's up there. It's the perfect storm of inventive biker fantasy, classic characters, killer soundtrack, great humor, and puzzles that won't make you want to rip your nose ring out. Get the remastered version if you haven't played it. It's an utter joy. Plus, people seem pretty wary to give Tim Schafer money anymore for anything, possibly for good reason. But this one's a sure thing. You will like this game, it will deliver. You'll be glad you put your money down for it. even if you might not want to put your lips on it.
Not putting my lips on that.